Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition episode of Last Cloudia. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm the kind of person that likes to listen to video game podcasts, and lately a lot of the conversation has been about Game of the Year type discussions, favorite games, favorite music, and also I've also seen the Video Game Awards. So that kind of stuff has basically motivated me to make this video. I want to celebrate Last Cloudia in 2021 to basically discuss some of my favorite units by category. So you're going to be seeing like my favorite collab character, for example, or my favorite sorcerer slash mage. So it's going to be kind of a fun video, and I just want to share it with all of you. And if you're a content creator, I strongly urge you to do a similar video, just talking about some of your favorites of this year, 2021. Do it on your own video or do it during one of your podcasts. Either way, I think it's just a fun, cool conversation to end the year off. So if you're going to be doing something similar, I 100% support that. There's a lot of good creators out there that definitely put a lot of effort into it. So I'd love to see someone with a higher production value reproduce this. What I'm doing is just a template, but I'm sure this could be a lot better for those who really put a little more, of their own into it. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, one thing that I will say is I will not be discussing any of the characters that you see here as far as unit prisms, mainly because I do not have these characters. So if I'm going to be talking about my favorites, these are going to be based off of characters I actually own and have used. Also, side note, this isn't going to be based off of any tier list. I've never been the kind of person to follow the meta. I always make my own meta. That's just how I am. But just throwing it out there, there are three characters here that I would have loved to have used and just never got. One being Dante, not necessarily for the character uses, but just because I'm familiar with the games he comes in, so it was more of a familiarity kind of a thing. Also, I wanted 2B or B2, or is it 2B? I forget what it is. She is. Actually, I can just pull it up. 2B, there you go. I wanted to get her, just wasn't lucky enough to pull her. It would have been nice to get, a really, really awesome dual wielding neutral damage dealer. And then Angela was another character that I really, really wanted, so I could at least have a, no attribute mage that also could do like rainbow mage type stuff. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. But yes, so just so you know, these characters will not be discussed just because I didn't pull them. And ignore Rim, she was not released in 2021, so I wouldn't have talked about her anyway. So we will start off with my favorite non-limited unit, Sea Rover Medine. So this year we actually got three non-limited units, if I'm not mistaken, being Medine, Gorm, and Merity, if I'm not mistaken. So all interesting units, I'll say that much, but my personal favorite is definitely Sea Rover Medine. If anyone that's seen any of my videos knows that I'm a big fan of characters that enable other characters. So it's not just about them dealing damage, but it's about them helping the team as well. And she does that really good. So battle starts, she has an ability to increase everyone's SCT by about 10 seconds, I believe. On top of that, everybody gets a damage boost with damage cap. So it's a really, really good way to just start the battle and just getting that damage in early. Fantastic unit. Now for one of the heavy hitters. That's right. For my favorite collab character of 2021, this is our boy, the Colonel, Roy Mustang. So those of you who started Last Cloudia after Full Metal Alchemist came out as a collab, you really missed one of the best character types in the entire game as far as like mechanics. And let's just be real, we've had some of the best collabs in general in 2021. I mean, everyone loves DMC5, which actually came out before this one, before Full Metal, and we also had the Near Automata collab, which was also very popular. This was just a really good year for collabs. But as far as my favorite unit, the reason is going to be Roy because of the fact that he uses alchemy. So what alchemy does is if you don't have any stocks skill stocks available, you use MP to use your skills. So use MP, and then your alchemy deals more damage. And for Roy, he's a sniper, which means he can do it from distances. Very, very strong unit. And another thing too is that not only is he just a super strong unit in general, he also has a passive that does enable your other characters as well. Something that gets missed very easily just because he's just so good by himself in general. So again, he's a team player. One of the reasons I like him, and just he's just too good, way too good, and I love it. Speaking of fire, my favorite mage or sorcerer is going to be Ragnan of Fire Eliza. So, with this particular character, first and foremost, yes, she is also an enabler. So, if you have any fire or light units on her team, they're going to be able to deal more damage because of her anima that lowers the fire and light resistance of all enemies. So, that really helps the entire team deal damage if you have the right units. And on top of that, she has naturally the fastest cast speed in the game currently, which is also very, very good. She deals tons of damage with her fire magic. She's just a one heck of a unit. My favorite in terms of mages. I was so happy to pull her, and there's just nothing else I can say about her. Again, good enabler, fast casting speed, tons of damage, just phenomenal character in general. And Saintly Lilibet. So her category is my favorite seasonal character. So for me, a seasonal character is a character that comes out either during the Christmas time or during the summertime. So this year we actually had two very strong seasonal characters. We started off with Swimsuit Alice, who is just so good at dealing damage, so good at recharging her SCT. It's just phenomenal. But as far as characters that are just fun to use in general, who are also good at dealing damage and enabling, Saintly Lilibet is honestly become one of my favorite characters in the entire year to use. So she's also a sniper, right? So she's attacking from long range. And then she has the ability to enable another character to be able to do more damage based off of Slayer type stuff. She's just so good, even just by herself. Like, who, even if you're not too concerned about buffing another character, by herself, she can deal with mobs and she can deal just a ton of damage. She's so much fun to use. I will say that no, I do not do the whole cast canceling thing, skill cancel, not cast canceling, I'm sorry. I do not do the skill canceling thing. So I just use her in the way she was intended by doing regular attacks and just doing skills when I need to. And even just using her normally, she is just so much fun to use. She deals so much damage and just has the ability to make other units better as well. She to me is the total package. And like I said, snipers are typically the most fun to use because you don't have to run around to do attacks. You can basically do attacks from anywhere, and that's just a lot of fun. So yes, as far as seasonal units, Stanley Little Bit, definitely my favorite. And now for my favorite single wheeled unit. Now, I'm going to be real with you. This particular category was the most difficult for me to actually pick my favorite. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a huge fan of single wheeled units. This year, they actually finally made them viable to be able to do, really, really massive damage without having to rely on dual wield. And I like that. I like that this is something that kind of breaks, what everyone's used to doing, what everybody preaches about. This is just something different. And I absolutely love it when you shake up the meta a bit. So the thing is all three, well, there are other single wheels, but there were basically three, to my opinion, really strong single wheel units for this year, being this guy, A2, and Leona. And to be perfectly honest, the reason it was so difficult is because they all bring in something unique that I love just using them for. When I was training them in the training field to give them levels, it was just so much fun taking all of them through, just clearing out mobs and everything. So the question is how did Lanceville beat out the others? Well, the reason that I ended up choosing him is mainly because of super armor. It's just a very strong thing to have because one of the most annoying things is when you're doing a skill and then you get hit and you just wasted your skill, so you weren't able to complete it. So with Lance, if he's doing a skill, his super armor basically makes it to where he can continue to do his attack. And if he does get hit, that next hit could potentially do more damage. So I like that. And on top of that, he's also a breaker and he gets boost off of that. So if he single wields, that's increased breaking for him. So the fact that he has super armor and he's a good breaker was really what took it for him. And it barely pushed him over the edge. Because again, A2 and Leona, I think, are fantastic characters. And I was really going back and forth for a long time. So Lanceville doesn't win by a landslide. He barely surpasses the other two, but he's still a strong unit in my favor in terms of single wielding. And yes, you're looking at Prim and you're wondering, wait a minute, she's not a 2021 unit. Why are we talking about her? So, something else about 2021 that was different is a lot of our older characters and even some of our newer ones got a buff. And of all the characters who got a buff, there were only two that really stand out as having some of the best buffs we've seen in this game. Uh, so notable shout out is going to be Nocturne, but Tinkili the Diva. So Tequila the Diva got a buff to where basically she increases everyone's damage cap, which is just phenomenal and does so much for your team. So just her, it almost felt like she was a new unit, but technically she was still used the same way she was always used, which is as a support unit. So very, very nice. However, despite Tinkili having such a great buff, Prim honestly is just best girl because her buff. Now, keep in mind that Prim was on the very first call out we ever had. There was a lot of love that she needed to become someone worth using because of how old of a unit she is. And a lot of the older units really didn't get the kind of buff to really make them fun to use or make them, reliable. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still use older characters, but you might not enjoy it as much as some of the newer ones. But Prim got like the complete makeover. So the thing with Prim is back in the day, she was supposed to be a support character. I honestly didn't really use her that way. I kind of use her in a weird, awkward way. But what they've done to her is they gave her dual wield, which made a lot of people happy, right? They gave her like so many other good boosts that it just made, oh, they gave her honey elixir as a boost. So to make a character better by giving them honey elixir is just crazy. Giving them dual wield as well, that's crazy. And everything other skill possible to just make her work, you put literally no work into making her good. Adis did it for you. Like, she is so much fun to use. Basically, I start off, using Honey Elixir, and then I use the second skill to teleport to get to the enemy, and then the third skill, the S3, to just deal massive damage. It's so much fun. And I couldn't ask for a better buffed unit to use. And I actually have been using her a lot more ever since her buff. Now, granted, we just finished the collab for this one, so I haven't been able to use her very long. But for the short time I got to use her again, yeah, she's absolutely so much fun, so much worth it to use. If you were fortunate enough to get her, you got a gem. You have no idea what you got. Like, she is just that good. Also, special shout out to Adis because this is going to be kind of a history lesson that some of you might not know. Now, when Last Claudia first started, Global actually had all their characters English voice acting. Well, this particular collab, Secret of Mana, was a collab that didn't have voice acting. Mainly now, if you were playing on the Japanese version, you got the Japanese voice acting. But back then for global, if we didn't have English voice acting, you literally had no sound, which I really didn't like. Like you can hear the sounds of the attacks as far as like, the punching and stuff, but you couldn't hear them like their battle cries and all that stuff, which we like to hear. And I even made a video about it. It was a long time ago, but I remember saying, hey, I understand that sometimes you can't always get English voice acting, but if you can't, why don't you just give us at least the Japanese voice acting? So at least we can hear something. I think that would be better than nothing. And the interesting part is eventually all characters that were released after that got Japanese voice acting if we didn't have English ones. But what was crazy is even when they did that, these characters were still silent. Even when we had the second run of the Secret of Mana collab, there was still no voice acting. They just completely left them silent. But thankfully, on the third go around, they actually give them their voice back, so you can actually hear the Japanese voice acting if you have it on, the English side. So that's really, really cool. That's a nice little touch that I appreciate. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but Adis, I'm letting you know that I noticed, and I want to thank you for that because to me, that those are the small things that make a difference, and I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, as far as best buff unit, 100% goes to Prem. And there you have it. Those are my favorite characters by category in 2021 from Last Cloudia. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, if you're a creator, I would also love to see your input on your own video channel about, some of your favorites of 2021. It would just be nice to see and just a way to kind of celebrate this year because honestly, this has been a great year for Last Cloudia. And I'm proud to be one of the players that have been around since the beginning. Yeah, we've come a long way. I'll tell you that much. I mean, a lot of people that just started this year, y'all started off at a really, really good time in Last Cloudia because that was the time, the dark times when we didn't have a lot of the luxuries that we have right now. And, for other creators that want to kind of expand on that, maybe do a video just talking about not just their favorite characters, but maybe their favorite arcs or maybe favorite, quality of life stuff. I'd like to see some of that. That would be really, really cool. Like I said, I'm just a template, but there are better creators out there that could do more with this idea, and I strongly encourage you to take that idea and run with it. I don't need any kind of credit or anything. I'm just here to make everybody else look good. That's all I'm here for, and I just want to show the fun that I have for this game. That's the whole reason I make videos is I'm just sharing my love for the games that I play, and that's all it boils down to. But again, thank you for taking the time to listen. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody's having a great holiday. And until next time, be kind and grind. Later.